So this is our last video in topic 4.5, Maritime Empires Maintained and Developed. And in this video, we're focusing on the changes. Now, this is a broad view of the changes that we're going to get into a little bit more detail in topics 4.7 and 4.8. But basically, we're focusing on how this new global web led to changes in areas such as Europe, Asia, Africa, and the Americas. So we know that nation states that emerged in Europe all were motivated to expand for economic reasons to finance their state. And so, in two ways, they built maritime empires. In the Eastern Hemisphere, these were trading post empires, and in the Western Hemisphere, these were colonial empires. Now, this work created a world web of interaction. Now, what we want to know is how did this change the world? How did the economic, cultural, biological, and technological exchanges, how did this influence the world? So, how did the global network of exchange change the world? Also, how did the global web of interaction change the world? So, we focus firstly on Europe. So, first of all, Europe's becoming this economic power, and they're dominating the world. In the Western Hemisphere, they're establishing colonies, controlling trade. In the Eastern Hemisphere, they're becoming very powerful middlemen. So in Europe, what we're seeing is the greatest benefit. But we also see population growth. We see the need for food. So both peasant and lower class labor to manufacture goods are rising as well. And essentially, Europe is now facing some population pressure and also some economic issues through the ups and the downs of the economy. When we focus on Asia, well, Asia's getting rich. We know that in Asia, they're essentially trading a great deal of their luxury goods, commodities, however you want to say it, for the massive amounts of silver. The problem is the silver is not being recirculated. And this is causing the Europeans a great deal of problems. Plus, both the Ming China and the Mughal India, both those empires, are facing internal pressures because both of them see the potential of the issues caused by European merchants. So we're beginning to see European encroachment on the powers of these empires. Here in this picture, we see the Mughal emperor allowing the British to establish trading posts in the interior and actually collect taxes, thereby limiting their power. And this will eventually lead to the fall of Mughal India. And then in China, we see the massive presence of Europeans within the trading cities, such as Canton. And with this comes their control, their want, their desire to trade with the Chinese directly. Remember that the Chinese forbid the European merchants from trading with the people directly. So just by being there, they're allowing this Western influence. And remember that China, well, they're culturally stagnant, they're technologically stagnant. And these Europeans, well, they have lots of power with their gunpowder weapons. When we talk about changes in Africa, we're talking about demographic changes. We know that the slave trade took out hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of males between the ages of 10 to 30. And this is going to create a gender imbalance in the population. Well, one of the things that we see within Africa is women beginning to take over the roles of men. We see a lot of marriages in which a remaining male has many wives, because remember that it was the male's responsibility to take care of the family. In the Americas, initially we see some great population decrease, but we also see a great deal of migration. Not only people coming from the New World, but coming to the New World from Europe, but also slaves. So we see a change in the population from a majority native to a majority European. We know that the natives were decimated by smallpox, but we also begin to see some blending of religions. For example, when the slaves were brought over to be seasoned, they were forced to convert to Christianity. Because they had existed within animist religion, this is where religions such as voodoo, Voodoo, Combien, they come in. This is a synced religion that mixes traditional African beliefs with Christianity. We also see that with the natives. When the Spanish took over the natives of the Americas, the Aztecs and the Incas, they required them to convert to Christianity. So we see the Virgin of Guadalupe here in this picture having both Christian and American influences. We also see the beginning of a new social structure. This is called the Costa system. When a maritime empire takes over an area and establishes a colony, they have to incorporate those ethnicities. So we see here the white European with his wife, and we see mixed bloods. So in Spanish America, the Costa system looked like this. We have peninsulars who are born in Spain, Creoles who are full blooded Spanish, but they're born in the New World. We have the mixed bloods of the mestizos and the mulattoes. Then we have the natives. Then we have the enslaved people. So we have a new social hierarchy that includes the new ethnicities, but kind of puts them below the rulers. So, how did the global network of exchange or the global web of interaction change the world? Well, Europe became an economic center of the world, managing the flow of silver and goods. But because of the rising population and the need to make money, peasant and lower class labor intensified due to the demand for foods and manufactured goods. In Asia, they benefited from the global web. They increased their production to get more silver, but Europe is slowly increasing their influence. And after 1750, they're going to be taking over certain areas. Some notable gender and family restructuring occurred, including the demographic changes in Africa. And this resulted from the slave trades, in that we see much more multi partner marriages. And we also see women taking over a lot of roles that men had. And in the Americas, not only did we see a change in demographics, but we also see changes in existing religions and the development of new syncretic religions such as Voodoo, Voodoo, Combien, and the Christianity practiced by the South Americans that blended their traditional religious beliefs with Christianity. Probably the biggest change is going to be new social structures. For example, the Costa system greatly diversified the population by including the new ethnicities in a social hierarchy that kept them toward the bottom. So this is topic 4.5. So in the first video, we described the characteristics of the global web of interaction, focusing on how three main interregional trade routes, such as the Indian Ocean system, the Atlantic system, and the Manila galleons, were connected by maritime routes, and how silver flowed, leading to the development of specialization in certain areas. We looked at the strategies used by European rulers to maintain power, focusing on mercantilism, joint stock companies, and the commercial revolution. And we looked at the big changes caused by this in Europe, Asia, Africa, and the Americas.